acknowledgements. With respect, we acknowledge the Ohlone, the Miwok, the Patwin, and other indigenous peoples whose ancestral lands we currently occupy in the greater San Francisco Bay Area. This land acknowledgement helps remind us of the historic and ongoing oppression of indigenous people, how the taking and occupying of indigenous lands and the exploitation of indigenous people and those lands is directly connected to the climate crisis, and how building relationships with and following the leadership of indigenous people here and everywhere is crucial as we seek and build long-term solutions to the global climate crisis. Now I'm going to share my screen and pull up a few slides. And then my co-chair, my seasoned co-chair, will start us off with our presentation.
Seasoned, I guess, but not salty. Anyway, it's great to see everyone tonight. And thanks for joining us for this important engagement on local policy action. And Bonnie and I are really delighted to be able to share just a little bit about kind of the high level view of our chapter. So first, we'll just kind of show how we relate to the Climate Reality Project. We are a chapter. There are 125 chapters in the US and about 35 chapters abroad. We are all committed to the Climate Reality Project mission to, one, educate the public with presentations and opportunities for events like this, strive in all we do for diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. That's really a cornerstone of everything we do. It all is done through that lens. And also to mobilize, of course, a grassroots network of climate advocates, which is really what chapter involvement's all about. Our chapter's mission, our new leadership team that just came in on February 1, we're looking at our strategic plan, but this is what our mission statement is so far. Our mission is to take full advantage of the unique opportunity the Bay Area presents to achieve progress on climate action, climate justice, and climate policy changes. We strive to lead the nation and the world in adopting bold and innovative solutions to the climate crisis and to climate justice. And I'll mention here, Chad just came off of a call with Al Gore and Gina McCarthy and Jay Inslee, and it was just so inspirational to hear them talk about, individual actions are important, but the things that really make the difference are policy changes and laws. And the way those changes really happen is starting at the local level. And then that, takes on wings with the state and then with the nation. And we really believe the Bay Area has the opportunity to be a real leader. So that's a little bit about our mission statement. Our chapter at a glance, some of you have already seen this. Our chapter was founded in 2017, and it was one of the first. It is in the greater Bay Area region. And you will see here, this map shows circled the official counties that are in our jurisdiction. There's actually in the South Bay, there is a Silicon Valley chapter that covers Santa Clara and Santa Cruz counties. So although certainly we welcome chapter members from anywhere, we do not necessarily engage in any specific activities in the South, in the Santa Clara County and Santa Cruz County area because of that chapter. We have 1,470 members now, and about half of those are climate reality leaders that are trained. The rest are just regular concerned citizens that want to do something. We have 12 teams and programs. We have 6 county squads you're going to be hearing from tonight, and we have 23 leadership team members. So we're really very well built out chapter. This slide's a little bit old. I apologize, it needs to be updated, but back in September, we had 1,400 members. And this shows how the chapter has grown since its inception. So it's just really been an impressive growth curve, even all the way through the pandemic. We went on unabated there, uninhibited, let's see. And Bonnie, you might give us a click. And there's how the distribution looks when you look at it by county. Certainly the larger metropolitan counties are our largest, but we have a good representation from all the Bay Area counties that we cover. And this is just kind of a depiction of the structure of our one way to look at the structure of our teams and programs. We have policy action, actually at the federal, state, and local levels within our chapter. We also have alliances and funding, And we have events team. We have a communications team, of course. We have membership engagement. And then, of course, climate justice, which is foundational to everything. And these cut across these community groups. We have our regional communities, the squads that are here tonight. We also have a business engagement team, a young adult team, youth climate action team for 16 to 22-year-olds. And then we also have our group that supports climate reality leaders with presentations. And what we always encourage is that we look for those cross collaboration opportunities. And tonight, what we're really going to be looking at is this intersection right up here in the upper left with our regional squads and your involvement at the local policy level. This is really probably the most developed area of our squad activity. And certainly if you had to pick one that's the most important, it would be policy action, but there are opportunities across the spectrum. And we're just delighted to be here. And I believe now I will turn it over to my co-chair to finish this off.
Yes, and so obviously we have external factors which create challenges and opportunities for our Climate Reality Bay Area chapter. Of course, climate impacts are mounting. We feel them right here at home. Public concern is growing, which creates opportunity to engage, but the challenge to avoid helplessness and apocalypse fatigue can be a bit daunting, but when we need to balance prevention, mitigation, restoration with the ever-growing need for big adaptation measures. 2030 is now just 8 years away. Big picture progress remains pretty underwhelming, and our task is to convey urgency without shutting people down and to prioritize high climate impact activities. Voting rights in midterm elections, there's a need to mobilize voters concerned about the climate crisis, as well as to make sure everyone has access to voting. And it's vitally important to elect people who will make climate a top priority. Threats to our democracy and to global political stability are escalating, and we need to consider nonpartisan efforts to help guarantee a healthy democracy and promote peace. Wide-scale war would not be good for the environment, for sure. And this is my mantra: action is the antidote for despair. But let's do a reality check. This is a quote from Clarissa Pinkola Estes, which states, "Ours is not the task of fixing the entire world all at once, but of stretching out to mend the part of the world that is within our reach." And that is what we are about tonight. And keep in mind, our circle of influence and our levels of action, individual, friends and family, community, and federal, global, and that our local community action is where we get the biggest bang for our buck. In this work, we get to move out of our comfort zone and function in our stretch zone at the same time. We need to avoid getting pushed into our panic zone. So we've got to stretch beyond what we're comfortable with. Our next steps is that we are going to have a chapter-wide meetup to learn. So you please put it on your calendar, Wednesday, March 2nd at 6 p.m. to learn about our plans, meet the whole leadership team, and connect with other chapter members. Thank you. And thank you to the Policy Action team for letting us take some of your valuable time. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Harriet and Bonnie, for that great overview of our work. Let's dive into the next part of our agenda, and that is to actually do some introductions on who is on the Policy Action Team leadership. And so I would like to just share this slide here to say how things are changing this year with the Policy Action Team. We have two new leaders, Steve Loiacono, and Sicilian, I have to use my hands, Loiacono, and Alan Moskowitz, and I'm going to ask them to give a brief introduction of themselves.
Cool. Hey, yeah, my name's Stephen Loiacono. I'm a marine scientist, and I spent a bit of time studying how climate change affects marine communities down in Monterey Bay. I live now in Oakland, and I work more in the commercial shipping industry and how to clean it up with new environmental technology to reduce its environmental footprint. I joined this group in November. I just did a Google search, and it seemed like a group that was like aligned with my beliefs, and it just seemed like something I want to be a part of. So I waved my flag, and I got onto the chair. So I'm really happy to be here and happy to learn and meet everyone. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. My name is Alan Moskowitz, and excuse me. I'm a longtime environmental and social activist going back to the 60s, and I'm a certified financial planner, an investment advisor, and specialize in environmental and social governance investing, and have been very active in what's called shareholder activism, and trying to get companies to change and be better, and also helping investors invest along with their values. So both of us are newly trained just in the last few months. We both volunteered because we realize that the importance of action, and we appreciate all your efforts and look forward to working with you all and meeting you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alan and Stephen. And I know you guys are going to stay around after the 8:30 for the post-event social, so that would be a chance to get to know Stephen and Alan a bit more. But let's keep going on our program for this evening. I want to, for those of you who have, this is the first time to attend our meeting, I would just like to share what our theory of change is and what our focus is when we talk about local policy action. And that is that we're focused on creating campaigns that target your local governing bodies. So cities, counties, or regional governing bodies, not the state or federal. That's a different part of our efforts. But in the local effort, we're looking at three key themes: clean buildings, clean transportation, and clean energy. We know Project Drawdown has over 80 things we could be doing, but we have agreed to try to stay focused on three so that there are more synergies across our 8 counties when we do work on these themes, and to make impact in those areas. But in addition, we want to ensure that our actions in those clean buildings, clean transportation, and clean energy also focus on climate justice, and that there is justice for all and equity. In addition to those three key themes, the county groups also work on supporting climate legislation and other policy actions that pop up and that are relevant in their counties. So there is flexibility for the county squads to undertake additional initiatives. And we're essentially asking for groups to stand up and speak during public testimony, 2 to 3 minutes. And we used to do that in person. It's almost easier now to do it by Zoom, but that's really our theory of change, getting us out there and making sure our voices are being heard. So with that, let's go pivot over, and I want to start to invite each of the following policy action county squads to give a 4 to 5 minute update on what's going on in your county. And sort of the prompts are, even though I know you don't need the prompts, but number one, tell us where you're coming from, tell us where you're headed, and what challenges you're facing, and what type of help you may need from the rest of the group here. And so we'll go in this order. Well, let's do Contra Costa, and then Marin, Sonoma, Solano, San Francisco, San Mateo, Alameda. And so with that, let me see if can I call on Contra Costa?
Yes, my name's Fred Bialy, and I am the co-chair for the Contra Costa County Policy Action Team. I don't think that Linda Deschambeau, who's the other co-chair, is here this evening, so I will give a short presentation myself, and I want to share the desktop. So You all, as I said, I'm Fred Bialy. That's how I spell my name. Linda Deschambeau is the other co-chair. And the governing bodies in Contra Costa County are the Board of Supervisors, which oversees the unincorporated areas in the county. And then we have 19 cities and towns in our county. And on this slide, I have in parentheses 2 numbers. The first number are the number of people on our mailing list for the policy action team. We have about 60 people on the mailing list. I see there were 170 or so in Contra Costa County that part of the Bay Area chapter. So we're not reaching even half of them on our mailing list, but hopefully we can increase participation. The second number in the parentheses are people from the different towns and unincorporated areas that have been active on our policy action team meetings. And so climate policies with possibilities for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions in our county, climate emergency resolutions. We have 4 jurisdictions that have them already, and several that have climate emergency resolutions in development, building electrification and new construction. The county, as well as Richmond, have implemented reach codes and gas bans. El Cerrito and Hercules have them under development. The 6th cycle of the housing elements, the mandate by the state for different jurisdictions to be able to build extra housing is underway, and there are opportunities to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the priorities for the housing elements by prioritizing infill development near public transportation to reduce vehicle miles traveled. Any new housing should, of course, be all electric. And with increased tree planting, there's more carbon sequestration and reduction of the heat island effect because of the tree canopy cover. Lafayette is working on an EV charging infrastructure ordinance. There are 4 refineries in Contra Costa County. So there's certainly work that can be done to bring about a just transition as the fossil fuel industry winds down. 2 of those refineries are currently working on proposals to convert over to biofuels production, which is an area for action. And a number of communities are working on general plan updates and climate action plan updates. So where are we coming from in 2021? We were very focused in the spring and summer on researching building electrification and new construction efforts in various cities and counties around the Bay Area to find best practices. This was inspired by El Cerrito starting to get involved in pursuing an ordinance in this area. And we just wanted to know what other jurisdictions were doing. In the fall, we didn't have that laser focus. We were involved with many issues. Concord was picking a developer of the Concord Naval Weapons Station that was going to have a huge redevelopment in the coming decades. Walnut Creek had a sustainability week and was also beginning to pursue climate emergency resolution for their town. Also San Ramon and Danville. Oakley and a number of other cities were updating their general plans, and the Contra Costa County was setting priorities for using the half-cent sales tax increase, Measure X, to use those funds, and we worked on possibly getting environmental justice as being one of their priorities. So all these issues involved attending meetings and speaking up at meetings. And our policy action squads already started to meet for 2022. We started on January 20th, and we'll be going for this 90-day period through April 21st. We meet on the first and third Thursdays, 7 to 8 p.m. As I said, our participation has been already about 10 people at the meetings. Our current actions so far, again, public comments at meetings. The Board of Supervisors in the county did pass a building electrification reach code. Hercules in the early stages of implementing one. Walnut Creek and Orinda are working right now in February on elements of the housing element. So there have been meetings that we can attend. And we stand ready to support at the request of other jurisdictions their efforts, for example, Lafayette and San Ramon. And the challenges, getting more participation from the many people in the county, being a little bit more focused. It feels like we're spread out over a lot of issues, but speaking at meetings is one way to influence policy. So lots of different things are going on. You can't really direct the meetings. They come up and have the issues on their agenda. And also influencing policy in cities where we're not residents, although the climate impacts cross city and town borders, of course. So I think there's always a way to justify that these officials can listen to us, even though that we're not living in those cities. So
Thank you.
if you want me to stop, I'll stop.
Okay, good. Please put questions to the speakers in the chat, and then we'll bring those up later in the discussion. But let's go to the next group, Marin, Sonoma.
Okay, thanks, Wei-Tai. So I'm going to report out on two squads. First, I'll report on the Marin Sonoma EV squad. And that was formed in 2019 for a very narrow purpose to accelerate the adoption of EVs. We've had a number of successes, and the biggest one to date has been we successfully got all 12 of Marin County's jurisdictions to comply with AB 1236. That's a state law that was requiring by the end of 2017, all California jurisdictions, county and cities, to streamline their permitting processes for EV charging. When we started, only 2 of 12, Marin's 12 jurisdictions were in compliance, and we got the other 10 to comply. We're now working on getting more EV chargers in underserved communities and multi-unit dwellings. And we also have a big effort going on to improve the EV charger reliability. And I'd like to make a pitch right now. We're just starting up a joint survey with Drive Clean Bay Area to survey the reliability of EV fast chargers throughout the Bay Area. And we're looking for volunteers for non-Tesla EVs to go to charging stations and be part of our survey to test the reliability. Robin's going to put in the chat who to contact about that. I'd like to encourage everyone to participate in that. Other things we're working on right now is an EV awareness campaign. Again, we're partnering with Drive Clean Bay Area. We've got about 50 people on our mailing list, about 30 active members. About half our members are Climate Reality Project trained, and almost all of them are involved in other citizen activist groups. And we think we get great leverage by leveraging all the climate groups in the county. And I think what people really like about this squad is that we're action oriented. We actually are making policy change happen. And if any of you would like to join us, we meet the second and fourth Tuesday of each month by Zoom. And just to give you a sense of the gravitas of this group, we just held our 60th meeting last week. The other squad I want to talk about is the Marin Sonoma Building Electrification Squad. This one we formed in 2020, about a year later than the other one, specifically to accelerate the transition away from use of natural gas, methane gas in buildings, which accounts as the second largest source of greenhouse gas emissions after transportation. And this squad also has about 50 members on our mailing list, about 30 active members. And again, about half are climate reality trained leaders, and almost everybody's involved in multiple groups. We've had some good successes. We helped Petaluma pass its all electric ordinance early last year. And later last year, we were a major driver behind Fairfax adopting an all-electric ordinance. And we've got a major initiative going on right now with Marin County, which made a commitment in its climate action plan to update its building code to adopt all electric ordinance for new buildings and also address remodels. And so we've set a goal to get all 11 other jurisdictions to join in that county process, leverage the county process, and all adopt those ordinances to be effective January 1st, 23. So we're really heading up the outreach to all the other jurisdictions to bring everyone on board, as well as working with the county. We're also involved in climate action plan updates. We've been involved in a bunch of those, and approvals of new residential developments to make sure they're all electric in advance of getting those code requirements in place. And similar to the EV squad, what people seem to really like about our squad is that we're action oriented. We actually get stuff done and don't just talk about it. And I think that's true with all the squads. We meet the second and fourth Thursday of each month by Zoom. And in this one, we just held our 40th meeting. So that's my report out, Wei Tai, and happy to have anybody join in with us. But please do take a look in the chat and volunteer to be part of our EV charger reliability study. Thanks so much.
Bravo. Thank you so much, David and Marin Sonoma. Let's go to Solano, Napa. Is Bonnie?
Hi again, everyone. I'm taking off my co-chair hat and putting on my squad leader hat. I do have to give a big shout out to the Mollers. I did sit in on the Marin County squads, both squad meetings, which I found very inspirational and overwhelming because they are doing so much and so deeply in the community. So I just have to give them a shout out. Solano County, we are a little bit different county. We are an ag county, a lot of big agriculture. I call us the other wine country. And Solano County is home to the Sassoon Marsh, which is the largest wetlands in Western North America. And we also border the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta. So for us, water issues are a big thing. We already have in some of our cities some resiliency planning around sea level rise and so forth, particularly in Sassoon City, which actually their city has the climate committee, which is amazing. And I must say that our squad is made up of a wide group of people. Half of the people who come to our meetings are trained leaders, and they became trained after they started attending our meetings. So they came in as community members, but have since trained, particularly with the virtual trainings. We have been involved in a number of things. We were involved in lobbying to oppose drilling in the Sassoon Marsh, also with the BachMed lobbying to put the wet scrubbers on the Contra Costa refineries, because we are downwind and we have one of the highest asthma rates in the state. Also, right now we're have been involved with the Solar Rights Campaign, and ongoing is the update to, particularly Fairfield is updating their general plan, and they were going to take away prime ag land, which prime isn't just a word you throw around. Prime ag land is actually a defined type of soil that is rich and for growing, and they wanted to just put cement over it. So we have been spoken up at our city council meeting for Fairfield, and also have been successful in bringing Marin Clean Energy, community choice energy into the county, which still has a under penetration of community choice energy. But Vallejo signed up last year, and Fairfield will come on board in this spring. So we're excited about that. I have a mailing list of about 115 people. About 15 people show up to our monthly meetings. We've been going on for almost 3 years now. Wei Tai helped us establish our group. Now, our upcoming things that we would like to address are, a lot of people are interested in water issues. I found out that one of our aqueducts is clogged, the one that goes to Napa and to much of Solano County. And so there's issues around that. But we also want to continue to lobby to get community choice energy into all of our cities in the county. So that's another thing. Plus, with the updates to the general plan to make sure they're using green energy for all these sparkly lights that they want all over our cities. But anyway, that's what we're up to. And well, look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bonnie. How about San Francisco? That's going to be Paul.
Hey, yes, hi. I apologize. I'm having some bandwidth issues, so I am not going to show myself live. And I am trying to get to the right share screen, and there we go. Are
Okay.
you now seeing the update?
Yes,
slide?
we do. Yes,
Great.
we do.
Okay. So basically, where we're coming from, we have had 3 significant policy action projects. Building decarbonization, which was primarily myself and Helena Barecki. There we worked with the San Francisco Climate Emergency Coalition in partnership. That's a very effective way to get things done. In fact, we got the all-electric new construction ordinance passed in the 4th quarter of 2020, and it became effective June of 21. And so now we're moving on to existing buildings decarbonization, which is a challenge. Dave Rohde led efforts to the Golden Gate Bridge District, asking them to electrify their transit fleet or their entire fleet. So that's everything from ferries to buses to service vehicles that they use. That was very successful. They committed to do so, and he's been paying attention there. And having gotten that under his belt, he went along to address the biofuel charades. Biofuels are being presented as clean and climate friendly. There's a lot of evidence that they are not. It deals with land use change. It deals with the fact that burning carbon-based fuels creates all sorts of air quality issues, and biofuels may be better than diesel, but that doesn't make them clean. Better is not the same as good, and it's important to keep that in mind. That works in process right now. Along with Dave, Helen Barecki, and Bert Hill have been extremely engaged in making that happen. So that's what we have been.
Paul, I think we just lost your voice. So we see your slide, but we cannot hear you.
So the existing building decarbonization work is continuing. That's very complex because it interacts with grid and grid projects that are managed through the both the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission as well as PG&E. San Francisco is not your standard rural suburban single lot housing. And so there are a lot of code and policy issues related to spatial constraints that need to be addressed. And it turns out that if we go with the conventional, we just replace a gas furnace with a heat pump, we leave potentially a lot of energy efficiency opportunities on the table. So understanding those issues is important. So we're sort of trying to figure out how to deal with that. The biofuels project is continuing. Dave's made a number of presentations and meetings with different agencies. And we have a specific 90-day project to get people introduced to the San Francisco Policy Action Team. And that is because we're in the 2022-23 and 23-24 funding cycle. Asking for funding of San Francisco Environment, that's the Department of Environment in the city and county, as well as funding of the Climate Action Plan. We had a turnout at the Commission on the Environment. They unanimously endorsed our asks, which is phenomenal. And it's now a matter of lobbying supervisors and speaking to various agency commissions to make sure they are stepping up. Challenges that we're facing are primarily resources. San Francisco has a younger working population, so lots of support, but very little capacity to actually engage in depth. And so we're trying to figure out how to work with people to bring them in with good talking points when we need turnout at a commission hearing or Board of Supervisors hearing. The other challenge we face is leveraging common actions across the Bay Area, Climate Reality Project Bay Area county teams, as well as, frankly, the state as a whole, because there are a lot of common issues. Code and policy issues are going to affect all of us when we look at existing building decarbonization. And it would be great if we could find a better way of making linkages across the multiple chapters. So that's where we come from, where we're going, and the big challenges we're facing.
Thank you so much, Paul, and congratulations on that most recent 90-day project to get the San Francisco environment pushed forward for some funding there. That's a great win that you guys led last week. Okay, let's go on to San Mateo.
Okay, this is Kathleen Goforth, and unfortunately, I've been on Zoom all day, and I think my camera just got tired because I can't get it to turn on now. So I apologize for being kind of a disembodied voice here. I think we're the new kids on the block. Our squad just got started a little over a year ago, and for the past year, it's been really just 3 to 5 of us trying to make something happen. And we all had been through the first global training in summer of 2021 and came out of the training and we're kind of like, okay, where's our San Mateo group? And there wasn't one. So we've been trying to get something started, but with such a small group, it was kind of hard to really make a whole lot happen in that first year. But we did a kind of a big recruitment push last fall after the last training and did get a bit more interest. And we now have about 20 people on our mailing list. So we're not quite up to the level of the other groups yet, but we're working on it. And we've got some fantastic people who've just joined us within the last month or two. And our focus is on electrification of existing buildings, but because we're such a small group, it's been really hard to think about how we could really get a critical mass going in any one city, because up until very recently, we didn't have more than one person in any one city. So we've been thinking in terms of, well, what can we do, still being a relatively small group, how can we maybe just generate more public support for electrification while we're trying to build up that critical mass. So that's what we were talking about at our last meeting, was looking at how, because this is also what we're hearing whenever any of our cities have gone through REACH codes, and quite a few of them did in the last couple of years for new construction, but whenever existing building electrification comes up, there's a lot of pushback. And what we're hearing from the elected officials and a lot of other advocates is, well, the biggest obstacle is people just don't understand why this is important. People don't know what a heat pump is. People don't know what an induction stove is. And there's just a lack of understanding. And the elected officials are just very reluctant to get, as they see it, get out ahead of their constituents. So we're looking for ways that we can help create more support so that the constituents will be at minimum receptive and hopefully actively advocating. We've got a variety of tools for this. There's a coalition called Fossil Free Buildings in Silicon Valley that Climate Reality Bay Area is a part of. And they've created a nifty little slide presentation on all electric homes. And so we've been looking for groups that we can take that to. One of our members, Margot, already gave the presentation to the Pacifica Mothers Club. We thought mothers clubs, other parent groups would be a great place to start, because who's going to be concerned about the health of their homes? It's going to be the parents with young children. So that's one avenue that we're looking at. So at our last meeting, where we had, I think 10 or so people come, which was our biggest meeting so far, and most of the people were new, we kind of sent everybody home with homework to find out what's going on in your city. Have they adopted REACH codes? Are they thinking about doing anything with REACH codes? Have they adopted a cap? Are they updating their cap? And then think about what other groups are you involved in that we could give a presentation to or collaborate with in some way to build support. We've asked everybody to take a look at the presentation that we've got. Look at the YouTube video of the presentation I did on how we got REACH codes in San Carlos, to see what it's going to take to do something in an individual city. We also, I think, may have some critical mass starting to happen in the city of San Mateo. We now have several members who are all in San Mateo, and there are things happening within the city government and some other groups working on San Mateo. So that may be where we can have our first big push. Also Hillsborough and possibly in Half Moon Bay. So we're looking for where things are happening that we can kind of amplify, and in the meantime be building that groundswell of support. I think that's it. Does anybody else in the group want to add anything?
But thank you, Joy and Margot and Kathleen, for taking the initiative and getting San Mateo launched. So let's go down to Alameda. That's Marie and Paula.
Hey guys, I'm Paula. Marie is our co-facilitator. She just waved. So just to do a quick introduction, I'm not sure who's the newest kid on the block, but we just started our squad last year. I did the training in April of 2021. Marie, when did you do your training?
Also April.
Also April. So we both met wanting to get involved with Alameda policy. And so we signed up to co-facilitate the Alameda squad. So we're really have been spending this first not even year kind of getting organized, trying to put together a team. We have a mailing list of about 30 people. We have about 8 active members. And I'd say that we are really lucky to have members who are very well versed in climate issues. Most of our members work in some capacity in environmental issues. Marie is an expert in solar. So we've got a lot of really good minds behind some of the things we want to do. We've been kind of working through like how to do a 90-day action. Our next 90-day action may be in 90 days. This one's been going on longer, but our first project, we've been focusing on the electrification of existing buildings in marginalized communities in East and West Oakland. And we'll be doing our first public speaking. We've already engaged with our council members and some city council staff on the issues. But we'll be speaking at the next Oakland City Council meeting in March. So that'll be our first kind of team action. And our goals for 2022, just to continue, Marie and I, we speak a lot about just process and organization, getting our team kind of having some process for onboarding new members. We'd really like to expand the membership and start working on more issues and expand into other parts of Alameda County. We've been really focused on Oakland, but Alameda County is huge. And so, yeah, so I think our challenges are building more membership, just getting organized, and also just continuing to develop our own knowledge in policy advocacy. Since some of us, are newer to policy, we may have environmental knowledge, but just working on policy. So working on some speaker series.
You just accidentally muted yourself, Paula. So the speaker series and then
speaker series, and some of folks here have been kind enough to talk to our group. So we want to kind of formalize that and just get, work on a newsletter, things like just really try to engage the broader community and build up that mailing list with action items for folks in Alameda County. So we meet every other Tuesday at 6:30. So that's us. Marie, do you have anything to add?
Marie might have just signed off, but
Oh,
if you
she
can
has
put
another
it,
meeting. She wasn't sure the timing. She has another meeting, so.
yeah, exactly. If you could put in the chat every other week, so just let us know the date of your next meeting.
Next meeting would be next Tuesday.
Next
So
Tuesday.
whatever that is.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And thanks for all the counties for reporting in. Perfect timing, 8 o'clock, 8:01. Matt Bogoshian is gonna lead a discussion here. So there are many questions put in the chat, but go ahead, Matt.
Well, sure. Thanks, Wei Tai, and great to hear all of those fantastic reports. And I want to first really just speak to new people that are participating in the call. And our squad leaders, very impressive, very knowledgeable. I think Bonnie, you were saying, inspirational and overwhelming knowledge by these folks. But to the new volunteers, this whole process, participating in a policy action squad, is no previous experience necessary. This is a great learning opportunity at a minimum, but also an empowering opportunity to see from your fellow citizens how just an average person can learn pretty quickly and have a meaningful impact on getting greenhouse gas policies adopted more quickly by a date certain. It's just thrilling to hear that. And I think I want to invite during this time for new people to really chime in and ask whatever questions you have about, what are the first steps? The first steps, like Wei Tai is promoting here, is to participate in one of your county squad meetings and help out. It's really inspiring to hear that. Now, so I invite those questions and getting folks to chime in on how to participate. It was great to hear. I took some notes listening to all of the different squad leaders talk about challenges, and wanted to open up one. I think it was Fred that was talking about, if we're going to bring petitions to local governing bodies, if it's not on the agenda, Fred was saying, well, if something's not on the agenda, of course, our policy action squads can speak during the public session, but, may not seem, that relevant if that topic is not on the agenda. Let me open it up to other squad leaders or anyone to say, how could Fred and the Contra Costa group, get something on the agenda that heretofore hasn't been on the agenda.
See, Bonnie's got.
Hi, I had just a comment that I wanted to make about, I think it was the Contra Costa squad that said they had a number of different cities, and how can you get like a critical mass? I know when we met with the Fairfield City Council, we brought about 12 people. Only I spoke, but when I spoke, I said, could you please these are the people that have come who are also in support, and they don't know where they're from. They don't know what cities they're from. So, and even the suggestion to wear the same color t-shirt, like a green t-shirt or, something. But it really was impressive, and it swayed the city council. As far as getting on the agenda, I think maybe just to call, first of all, there's always public comment, right? So that's where you start. So you start with the public comment, and then that sparks them, and then contact the city manager. We've met with the city manager a couple of times about bringing more solar into it.
Nope, that's great. Those are two great suggestions, Bonnie. David Moller, I saw your hand up.
Thanks, Matt. One other thing, I was going to mention the same things that Bonnie just did. Those are great ideas. But another one is to send in letters to the editor of your local paper, because elected officials pay attention to letters to the editor. They use that as sort of a barometer of what's going on in the community and what is on people's minds. They know that very few letters actually make it into there. So it's another thing you can do. But the main thing is to start socializing the issue, like using the public comment period. And then, as Bonnie pointed out, either using one of the elected officials or the city manager actually get it on the agenda.
Yeah, good one. And I see, Paul, your hand's up on that one.
Yeah, thanks. I guess two thoughts, and I'm going by San Francisco, so that's one city and county, which makes it a little bit unusual. But the clerk of the board, the clerk of the commission, is an excellent resource. So, for example, in San Francisco, you can do public comment at various points, and that's great. But you can also talk to the clerk of the board, and there is a process to introduce a petition to the Board of Supervisors that might get you a few extra moments. So reaching out to the clerk of the board, and that name should be part of the record, is a great way to make contacts, understand how things work and what you can do, and maybe if you can coordinate more than one person talking for a more complex message.
Oh, that's good suggestions, Paul. And just to remind folks, we have checklists and tip sheets for the squads. They're useful tools. There's a lot of organizations that have these kinds of, political action tools, but thanks to Leslie and many others, we put together the checklist. And Wei Tai, how do people get access to those?
Well, it's send me $10 and no, all right. I guess I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. And like that's an activity we hope to expand. What are the shortcuts, right? Because we need to socialize, the challenges, the successes for sure, but the challenges. This is not easy work. This is democracy 101, right? And so you guys are doing it. And I think for new people on this, the water's warm. There's a lot of great people. Get in the water, just put your toes in it first, but get involved, and you can find a meaningful role in meaningful work. And I think just hearing the tips from some of our more experienced squad leaders on how to get stuff on the agenda is an example of that. Focus. I heard a lot of comments from squad leaders about the challenges of keeping focus. There's so many issues, right? This is global warming, right? Climate change. It's a massive issue. But with a ragtag group of volunteers, to have a meaningful impact on a policy action by date certain, you got to maintain focus. And there's no one way to do that. But how let's throw that open to the squad leaders. How do you keep your volunteers focused on getting an outcome versus doing a little bit of everything? Any hands? David, go for it.
Well, I sort of delayed putting up my hand so others could speak, but so now that our hands went up, I'll go ahead on this.
Yeah.
Because I really think this is a very, very key point, is that it's hard, like it was already mentioned in some of the squad leader comments. It's very hard to get people to step forward and spend part of their limited time working on this stuff and feel like they're making a difference. And so with limited resources, if too many subjects come up, those limited resources get dispersed in a way that nothing happens. One of the comments that was made early on in the introductory comments to tonight's meeting was about picking high impact actions. And I think I was meeting with a group just the other day, and I suggested the perfect spot to be is where high impact and passion intersect. And if you can find that spot, that's where you can really get something done. But what we did is early on is to have the dialogues about what were we going to focus on. We actually wrote down like a mission statement for our squad. And every time somebody says, oh, I'm really interested in this, or I heard about this, we say, well, how does that fit in with our mission statement, which is to accelerate the adoption of EVs, or to accelerate the conversion to all electric buildings and removal of natural gas. And so, it's kind of a challenge because people will come in and want to say, oh, I really want to work on reducing plastics. Hey, great thing, but that's not what this group's focused on. The one other thing I would say is that there's a lot of groups around focused on a lot of stuff. And there was an early push for the building electrification squad to also work on climate emergency resolutions. But it turned out there was already a group in Marin County that was working explicitly on CERs. And we said, hey, anyone who wants to work on that, go work on it with this other group. We're going to stay focused on building electrification. And it worked great for both groups. So having that clear idea of what you're headed for, and then hold up new ideas against that, is that going to help us meet our primary mission here?
Thanks, David. Jeffrey, your hand's up.
Sorry, just
yeah.
having a trouble getting unmute there.
No worries.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that I just attended a great presentation on the Climate Action Now app, which has been adopted by Climate Reality Project. It was a presentation by the CEO of the company and the main developer. And it's really, the capabilities are really far beyond what I imagined. And it can be used to recruit people to these squads and provide links to video, backgrounders on issues, and a bunch of other things. So I plan to explore it quite a bit more, and I'd encourage other people to explore it. I think it could be very, very valuable. It's very easy to put actions on it and track them and all sorts of things.
Explain it a little more.
Yeah. Can you explain a little more, Jeffrey? Somebody asked.
So the app is it's an iPhone app that I'm not an expert on it, but if you go on it, you can find actions that are related to your geographic area, or ones that are sponsored by a group that you happen to be invited into it by. So you could find Climate Reality. And in fact, many of you probably already know that climate reality actions can be tracked through that app. So they go back to, rather than you having to manually enter them, can be done that way.
Wait, I just put the link in the chat there on that. So it'd be interesting to see how squads might utilize that tool. Like, we don't have the answers on all the right tools, right? And tactics. So appreciate that suggestion, Jeffrey. Bonnie, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say, I probably, or at least compared to the Mollers, I do feel like one of these people who are a little bit more wide ranging in our viewpoint, but we do have different challenges than Marin. I mean, Marin is already way ahead of the curve compared to Solano County. The political climate here is different. It's a purple county. We have a very conservative local government, which we have to work with. We can't just come in and talk about climate. In fact, one of our cities doesn't even mention climate on their climate policy action or their climate plan. So we have some different challenges. The other thing is we have geographic differences. Like I said, we're a big ag county. We're surrounded. We have a lot of water, and those are other issues. So I think that there does need to be some agency. Although I really believe that I fully support the concept of, we want to do the highest impact that we can in what we're doing. It's really important. So anyway, just want to put a different voice out there. The other thing, just to go to building electrification, for an example, our heating and air guys don't even know anything about electric appliances. That is a real issue when they don't know how to put in a heat pump. I had a heat pump put in my home, and it took them three tries to get the right heat pump in there. I mean, it was really, and I still don't even trust it. But anyway, just we have some things that we need to take care of before we can even get to the point where, we're asking our cities to do it, when we've got a lot of different things to deal with.
Yeah, that's right, Bonnie. And thank you for pointing that out. There's no one way to do this, right? There's a lot of angles, and they are all local. I mean, this is a bottom-up activity. And, if you're new to this thing, you can really have a lot of influence in your policy action squad in making a difference in a short period of time. And, we call these things 90-day action plans, and that's, because we don't want to scare people off, right? It's not like a lifelong commitment to do this, but working in chunks of time is the basic idea on that, and giving a good volunteer commitment during those chunks of time is the objective. We found that has resonance with a lot of newer people, and so we put it out there like that. So this is a discussion period. I just teed up some issues. I see some people with their hands up. Paula.
Oh, thanks. I just wanted to say, one of Marie and I, Marie just had to leave, but an observation that we've had on our squad is that once we kind of implemented the 90-day, action, we voted on a topic to go deep dive into 90 days. That's where we really saw a drop in our engagement. There were like a couple core people who stuck with it and wanted to keep going. But the broader group, I think once we kind of got narrow, it just felt like people weren't as interested in that particular topic. They maybe didn't live in Oakland because we're working on an Oakland project. So, we struggled with this idea of the 90 days where it does feel kind of somewhat bite-sized and like accessible to people. I think there's a balance between that and then also just like even smaller things that we can do to keep people engaged. I took a screenshot of the first speaker who had all their goals. I can't remember what county that was, but doing like showing up and speaking at lots, engaging with city councils all over the place. That felt a little bit like, oh, those are like quick and easy things to do. So I think it's like we're trying to still figure out our groove in Alameda County, because our team really likes the work we're doing. So we're just going to keep going with it, but it's a balance because then you kind of lose some other folks. So
yeah, it's a good point, Paula.
Just like, it's not a bad thing. This is not a negative. It's just an observation.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And as you heard from some of the other squads, they have multiple activities within their own county. There's the EV, building electrification, Golden Gate Bridge Transit Authority, et cetera. So, kind of, back to Bonnie's point, it is all local. What's going to work, in your county is the trick is finding the formula to keep the people active. It sounds like you're on a good road to trying to figure that out. Paul, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so a couple of 3 comments following up on what Bonnie and Paula were saying. The first thing is that when we started out in 2019, we lost a lot of people because they were passionately interested in X and we were going to do Y. Mm-hmm. And Dave Rohde went off and did Z because that's what he was interested in. Mm-hmm. And I think if someone is interested in something, there's a huge opportunity for them to step up, do the work that they're passionately interested in. And then when they need bodies to turn out that's when the policy action team comes in behind them, provides additional supporting comments at hearing. And that's one way of getting people involved, because they get to work on something that really interests them.
Right, and that's got to be balanced with this idea of actually getting stuff done and having sufficient focus, right? So that's what we're all, you're nailing it, Paul. Yeah,
it is, but the point is, there's a core group that's going to do something. That doesn't mean people who want to do something entirely else can't work under the Climate Reality Project umbrella, as long as they come back and say, I need your help to do this. And I think it's very, very powerful.
Yeah, no, I think you make a good point. It's something that we've heard throughout this. I mean, you all have the power in your county squads to determine what you want to do. This is not top down, right? This is bottom up, and that's important for anybody listening to this, to understand. I think that's one of the exciting parts, for people that want to have some agency in affecting change. This is a pretty open access opportunity.
And I want to say the other thing that we've done here, and this is actually working with Climate Emergency Coalition, setting up an action network site, which is absolutely brilliant, because you can draft a letter, ask your folks to forward that letter, they sign on. They can then edit the letter as they wish to personalize it, and it gets sent to appropriate people. And for a relatively small amount of money, like $10 a month, you can link it to geographical files, which will link specific addresses to the elected officials. And so it's a targeted email. So it's a very powerful tool if you've got someone who can do the programming for it. Hint, hint, it would be wonderful if Climate Reality Project Bay Area could look into maybe setting that up as a tool for all of the policy action teams to use. I think it would be a very cost-effective way of making it easy to issue calls to action and make it easy for people to email or call their agencies. We used that, and we got something like 40 letters to the Environment Commission on the budget. 40 letters over a weekend from a Friday to a Monday. That's a huge response.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Thank you, Paul.
I just wanted to jump in for a second. Just wanted to mention that the things that Paul was just mentioning can also be done in Climate Action Now, which is this iPhone app that the Climate Reality Project has taken on as an app that they're using. And it's very, very easy to set up actions. You don't need to be a programmer or anything. It's like writing a line in a spreadsheet is really all it takes. So just wanted to mention that.
Well, thank you. Hey, before I turn it back over to you, Wei Tai, I just want to say to all the folks, thanks for being on this call and being so inspiring, and all of your good hard work. Wei Tai and I have been the co-chairs of the PALT, as you heard early on, and we're delighted that Alan and Stephen are taking the reins for this year. And yeah, just want to say thanks for your good work, and it's been a privilege. So Wei Tai.
Thank you, Matt. And maybe I'll just start and reflect on one thing you just opened up with by saying that for all the new people here, that no experience is necessary to get involved in local policy action. Sometimes it's intimidating to hear such in-depth knowledge, but all of us want to be sure that we are broadening the tent as quickly as possible and getting more and more people involved. That's, I think, a very essential that we make this accessible. So even how Paul just finished by saying, can we make these petition sign-on just easier for your everyday person? I think these are all valid goals that we're happy to pass on to Stephen and Alan, who have come on with not so much policy action in this group, and they just signed up and they did it. So I think just having that willingness to say, yes, give me some action to take on is really the secret to success, which I'm super grateful for. let me just close by saying that in the upcoming months ahead, the Policy Action Leadership Team would like to put on some skills training workshops and having additional speakers come and address us on topics of interest. So please let us know if you think there are skills that would be helpful to develop, and if there are topics that you're interested that you think we should have speakers coming to share with us. And Stephen and Alan would be the ones to contact about that. But with that, we're coming right down to the bottom of the hour. We're actually finishing up a little bit early. So I'm sure everybody would like to have an extra 5 minutes in their day. Why don't we adjourn a few minutes early here? And for anybody who would like to stay on, we'll stay on for another 15 minutes to just socialize and chat and grab a drink if you want. Otherwise, we'll see you all at our next gathering. Thank you so much for coming this evening.